Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Tougies Take podcast. Still without an intro. That's okay. Who needs an intro? Intros are overrated. We are back again. It's us, the guys, the fellas, as
That's
a
my
wise
line.
man once said. Returning from his time away, Mr. Sin for the win is back on the show. He made it. He trekked California and came out alive on the other side.
Absolutely.
Oh, God. And again, you missed the biggest news week of the season so far in terms of 17,000 firings. But, hey, we at least still have a decent amount to talk about today. Endo, of course, is here as well, currently stuffing his face with pizza.
Okay, I have a story behind that. My mom, my parents have, they run a business, because they're nice people. And they do landscaping and all that, and construction. So they had an office party. And my mom calls me, I think at like 8 o'clock last night. She says, "Hey, do you want pizza?" I'm like, "Who's going to turn down free pizza?" Then she shows up with like a party-sized pizza, which is like, great, perfect. Then she opens it up, and then there's like three party-sized pizzas all in that box. It was like cheese, meat lovers, vegetarian, which I'm not going to eat because reasons. And then she shows me a bunch of cookies and all this stuff. Like, it was ridiculous. It was like when I was like, and I had to carry like all of it up the stairs at once. So I had like a box full of like 3 party-sized pizzas, like a giant one, like a Pizza Nova kind of box, or anyone who knows Pizza Nova is in Canada. Just massive, huge, humongous, if you will. And
similar to what you were going to be by the time you're finished eating all of that pizza.
Yeah, they made a joke and they were like, "Oh, you can just put it in the freezer and like save it for later." I'm like, "Are you kidding me? I'm just gonna eat this all in like one shot."
Yeah,
I'm starving.
Would pizza in the freezer work? I mean,
okay, so hear me out. My mom's suggestion was to put it in a Ziploc bag and then like have it in there so you can pull it out any time. And I told my mom, I was like, "We don't live in the 40s. I don't have to like scavenge food like that. I can
freeze food.
I do freeze food, but I'm not gonna freeze pizza, like at least that much pizza. What I'll do is I'll like cut it down and use it for other things, like use it for croutons or salad, stuff like that. You know, get creative with it."
Endo's pizza story.
Yeah,
we have a lot to talk about on today's show. Before we do that, though, of course, as always, I have to mention that this podcast is brought to you by our friends at Manscaped. It is not too late to order that special something for a special someone. Manscaped.com, the place for everything related to your male grooming needs. Again, whether it's taking care of the head on your head or getting rid of it, the same thing basically anywhere else on your body, Manscaped is the place for you. Again, it is not too late to get those orders in and get things showing up on your doorstep before Christmas, which is 12 days away.
Oh, fuck.
What the hell is this year? It's absolutely ridiculous, but you can use code Tougie at checkout for 20% off your order and free worldwide shipping as well. On the site right now, there is a 20% off holiday sale site-wide, free shipping on everything there as well. Don't know if the codes are combinable. Actually, that sale ends in about 9 hours, so you're going to want to make sure if you're listening on the audio portion of this podcast, take advantage of that. If you're on the video side and I don't get it uploaded on Monday, well, damn, you missed out. But code Tougie, 20% off, free worldwide shipping. Same deal, still available beyond this little bit. So again, whatever you need, Manscaped has the right tools for the job. And we thank them for sticking with us here on this show. And with that, boys, with Sin being back, what better time to get back into some viewer questions. And we'll start off with a bit of a holiday theme here. This one comes from Hawks. Boys, what do you want for Christmas? Endo, what do you want for Christmas? If there was one thing you could get, realistic or otherwise?
You're gonna say realistic. I was gonna say new graphics card at this point because like the scalping is out of his mind. Yeah, it's unrealistic. It's unrealistic. Oh my god.
I mean, that's a good answer.
That's a good answer. It's what I've been looking for a while. I've been trying to scavenge and everything. What do I want for Christmas? My 2 front teeth. No. What I want for Christmas is Damn.
I'll let you
On
come
the
back.
spot.
I think you had a good answer with the graphics card. We'll leave it at that if you have nothing else to go with. Sin, what do you want for Christmas?
Red Ryder BB gun.
Shoot your eye out.
No, man, I just want to combine every single gift. I need an electric drum set. Yeah, I've been a drummer since I was 12, and I can't really play in a one-bedroom apartment. Ever since COVID, I haven't been able to keep up renting out a practice spot with some other people because, well, most people weren't renting. So, yeah, I've just been like, my drums are just like, they're untouched. I need an electric set. Yes, I need to play drums. It is my soul.
Fair enough. I remember my my oldest sister's ex-husband was a drummer, and I tried to get into it, but just ain't got the rhythm. Now I date a music teacher. So there you go.
Oh, she's a music teacher. Nice.
Yeah, I can't play an instrument to save my goddamn life. But God bless her, she's trying to help me learn. That said, when it comes to Christmas gifts for me, man, and she could tell you, I am impossible to buy for, because I am the type of person where it's like, oh, I want something. I'm not waiting until December. Like, I want to get this old Xbox 360 game I used to have as a kid. I'm just going to go buy it.
Yeah.
Oh, I want this jersey. I'm just going to go buy it. So for me, I'm trying to think. Like, honestly, she got me like a package of beef jerky as a stocking stuffer last year. Just give me some more jerky. I'm good.
Just more jerky?
Just give me some more
jerky's
jerky. I'm not going to
amazing.
name any brands, but there is a specific brand that's delicious, and they should sponsor this show, and I'll hit them up on via email or social media. But yeah, I'm just impossible to buy for. Like, legitimately, I am very much at that, not necessarily dad stage, but I've almost been there for a while where it's like, I get more joy out of Christmas giving gifts to other people than I get out of getting gifts myself. So,
yeah.
But
God, I do miss the days of fucking waking up and getting like a Playmobil castle and freaking out. Oh, dude, I used to spend
so here we go.
Putting that shit together.
Favorite Christmas gift you've ever gotten, or favorite Christmas memory? I will go with mine first. And there was one year that my parents, my dad had a very, very good year. He grew up as a painter, contractor, all that stuff. He had a really good year one year. So one of my older sisters, she got the OG PlayStation with Driver, which
nice.
Oof, that was a fun time. I got the one of those Game Boy Colors. It was like the purplish clear one with Pokemon Yellow, which I still have both of those things. It was just a beautiful Christmas. It was like the ideal kid's Christmas where you got like everything you wanted. The tree was stacked. It was awesome. So I agree. I do miss that feeling, because Christmas almost doesn't feel the same way once you get past that feeling of like, oh my God, the excitement as a kid for having a bigger Christmas. But yeah, no, I'd go with that.
Yeah.
Either one of you have that very notable Christmas memory?
Yeah, there's a few of them. I think, one of them, obviously, when I was like 12, when I got my first drum set. That's massive. Like, that's just huge. But in the presence of before, that the gifts come from parents when you're still a believer in Santa and whatnot, it's got to be around oh man, there's actually three. I'll go. All right, my drum set's one. The other one was like a year I got like when I was super into Playmobil. And I don't know if you guys know what Playmobil was.
Oh yeah.
Oh my God,
little stick motherfuckers.
Yeah, I got the massive like castle, like this huge fucking castle that I could spend hours putting together. And then
oh my God, they can know the one like
shit.
The medieval one, right?
Yes,
the one that like every like not middle school, every preschool had, but like you had it like your own. I know a bunch of my preschools had a bunch of them. I can.
That might have been the little Tykes one that didn't. It's this one you had to actually put together. I doubt they'd have that at preschool. One you had to like put together. But basically, yeah, it was this massive castle that took me like 3 hours to put together with my mom, who had to help me at some points because I was the type to get frustrated when I didn't understand something. Oh, I still am. That's weird. And then I think the last biggest memory is when I first got into Warhammer. Around like 15, 16, and like my entire Christmas at like my parents' house and then also at the cousin Christmas thing, I just like exclusively got Warhammer shit. Like I got the starter set, a bunch more like to fill out my Empire army, and then I got the Fortress. It was just goddamn, and I still have everything besides that Fortress because it broke. But yeah, I still have all that shit, and I still use it to this day.
Endo, for you, anything stand out?
There was a lot. My
Keep
uncle.
it brief. We got a lot of stuff to talk about.
Yeah. Okay, I'll keep it very brief. It's either when my uncle got me a GameCube or it was when I got a PSP. No, you know what? It was a PSP because that got me into hockey games and it got me into hockey because he gave me a copy of Gretzky NHL for the PSP, and it was the greatest. I played that game till this just scratched completely. It was like ridiculous. Greatest gift.
Awesome. I still remember. I'll cut it short, but I did get a PSP, but it wasn't for Christmas. I won it out of an arcade machine outside of a Walmart.
Oh
wow!
You're the one guy. The one guy everyone knows.
I was the one guy who actually wanted one of those machines.
So it was a laser pointer.
It was the game where the blocks go left and right, and you have to stop.
Oh my
and
God.
then left and right, and you stack all the way to the top. And I fucking
You won
did it.
Stacker?
I did.
No one wins Stacker.
I
What
swear
the hell?
on my grandfather's grave, and I wouldn't lie about it because it's legitimately one of my favorite accomplishments.
That is amazing.
That's hilarious.
I won a rigged game, and by that I mean I lucked into winning a rigged game.
Oh my God.
On
if I
to
ever had
question
those.
2. Like 15 minutes into the show.
okay.
This one comes from Alive, and Sin kind of set it up well with the Christmas Story reference earlier. He asked, what Christmas movie is overrated, in your opinion?
Oh
Do
my
either
God.
of you have a clear-cut answer? Because I do. I do.
I think that's the one. We watch it
Christmas
when I was
Story?
growing up. We watched it. A Christmas movie, yeah. Christmas Story. Because every year we watch it on New Year's, on Christmas Eve and Christmas Day. I started with Paulina. She's like, "This is stupid. Like, why am I watching this?" And then like right when we got to the part, where it's like, "I can't put my arms down." She's just on the bed, cry laughing because of
Yeah.
how stupid it is. Oh man.
So I
That's
think
one of
for
the best
me,
movies.
I don't have the Christmas Story in that overrated category for the same reason that you just mentioned. Like there are some moments I can laugh at it. There is one Christmas movie for me that it just does nothing for me. And this is going to piss some people off because it's a lot of people's favorite, as I understand. Polar Express. It does nothing for me.
Oh my God.
I'm sorry. It just doesn't.
It's a good book.
Fucking yeah. I agree. Fuck Polar Express. Oh my God. Just
Cindy,
the one nerdy kid on the tree.
The animation style's weird as hell too. It does nothing for me. I'm sorry, it just doesn't.
The animation there was like ahead of its time, I think. The last time I saw that like style being used effectively was Tintin. When the Tintin movie came out, that was great. But like for that, it just looked really like devilish. And I remember there was like I was watching a YouTuber talk about like that movie, and he said like the moment when like the one of the little black girl gets scared and looks at the camera, like apparently people were running out of the theater because of how scary it was, because like the mocap just like broke in a weird way.
So did they use like the same system that like LA Noire used for facial capture, except LA Noire was made like 4 or 5 years afterwards, so it was a little bit more advanced?
Yeah, it was full mocap, full suit. It was like the first movie to have that fully rigged up in that certain way. And again, I think the tech was ahead of its time, but just execution there was not really that great. I mean, even in LA Noire, it was all right, but it just like you could like, oh, you'll see like little microaggressions when they lie, and then you have guys like.
Exactly. Like the faces in LA Noire are the best. Because you have a guy, and this is only going to come over for the video portion of the podcast. Subscribe to that channel, by the way, where this old man in particular just be like, I know nothing about what you're saying.
And then he goes.
It's incredible. So, oh, God.
Oh, okay, wait. There we go. We're good.
Yeah. Cindy, you have a response for overrated Christmas movie?
Dude, I don't know. I have some underrated ones, but overrated, like, I don't know. I just don't watch them if they're not good.
Okay, so
I
what's
don't
your
know.
underrated Christmas movie?
I would say one of the most underrated ones is I just don't hear it talked about enough is the Santa Claus.
Fair.
With Tim Allen. He's fucking hilarious in that. And then you realize, okay, you're actually really good at being a dick because you maybe kind of are a dick. But I think that's a severely underrated Christmas movie.
Was he really acting that?
I don't disagree.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Yeah.
It's his sarcasm level in that, like the whole it's hilarious. It holds up. I laughed at it as a kid. I laugh more at it now because I understand more references and stuff like that. And like, it was just the cast was phenomenal. Like the character Neil, that dude from fucking Fast Times Ridgemont High, when his terrible sweaters constantly, like, holy shit, like everything about it. It's just a near, in my opinion, almost a near perfect Christmas movie.
I think my favorite like bit, not from the show, but like making fun of it, was reference to Game Grumps we were talking about. It's like, oh, you killed Santa.
Well, that's the problem because I can only
Just Tim Allen.
I can only see Tim Allen as Tim the Tool Man. Like, so I just view the Santa Claus as a home improvement special.
Oh, dude, yeah,
Makes it
I
so
get
much better. God. I love how this podcast is just Endo cracking himself up half the time. It's been a great evolution.
And no one else.
No.
You guys talk hockey. I talk to make myself laugh. It's great.
Fair enough. We'll try to make the transition from Christmas movie to sports. And what's the perfect way to transition? Alcohol. Ender.
What?
I wrote Endo, but Ender asks, favorite alcoholic beverage.
All right.
Now here's the thing. There's some elephants in the room here.
I was like, when I read this question, I'm so confused.
We'll keep it simple in saying that neither Sin and I are big drinkers at this stage in our lives. So this is basically an Endo question.
All right.
Endo, as someone who has been seen drinking Coors Light on this podcast, what's your favorite alcoholic beverage?
We can't actually take his opinion because he drank Coors Light.
Budweiser.
Bam.
The only reason why it says a completely other brand.
Only he and Brock Lesnar, but it's because Bud Light won't pay him nothing.
Exactly. Okay, so I drink Coors because it's like it's like the number one hockey beer, at least here in Toronto. It's so. Excuse me,
You
just
okay?
burp. Yeah, just
You
burp.
die? This is a great podcast.
Bill came up.
You're doing great.
Bill was coming for me with give me a good burp. Yeah. So, like in terms of like having beer in the fridge, I will just constantly get like Coors Light from games. If I actually want to like enjoy like a drink, I'll have like a whiskey. I think it's like not whiskey sour. Oh, I did shots of those. That was disgusting. It's called a sour key. So it's like vodka, some sort of lemonade. And then over here at there's a bar nearby called El Furniture, and they have this warehouse special where they include that, like the sour key drink with like a sour key in it, and then they grab like a Corona bottle and they flip that inside the bottle itself, inside like the glass itself, and you're basically on like an internal timer to finish the drink as fast as possible. And it sounds like binge drinking, but I promise you it's not.
If it sounds like binge drinking,
Let me-
it's probably binge drinking.
As an alcoholic who's now sober for 6 years, Endo, let me inform you on
Congrats.
something. If you have to rationalize it, be aware. All right, just saying. If you find yourself making excuses and justifications,
This podcast might turn into my AA meeting.
I'll talk about my favorite alcoholic beverages. When I did drink, there was a lot of them. At one point, I was just drinking whatever the fuck you had. But one of my favorite, and I was almost a hustler at the bar. It was Irish car bombs,
Ooh.
and if you're not aware what an Irish car bomb is, it's a shot of basically Bailey's and Jameson, and then you dunk it in a pint. Maybe it's is it a pint? I don't know. Fucking glass of Guinness. And then you drop it, shoot it, and drink it as fast as possible. Now, what I'd do is I'd bet people a drink at the bar that I could finish it before they can. And I learned incredible chugging techniques, and I would finish like that. I'd get like 2 free drinks a night. And so, just getting, saving myself some money as I spent too much money on alcohol. And that was my thing. Yeah.
I was gonna say.
Surprised I remember.
Right?
That was my problem. I found the perfect balance. I always knew just how drunk to get to not get myself into trouble, and that was my issue. Because then I was indestructible, right?
God, I don't have a response to that.
That's wild. Like, did you like combo it up where like you get the 2 free drinks and then you're like you bet those drinks on top of that, so like stacks.
Oh no, I'd usually like I would start off the night with an Irish car bomb or two, but then I'd like settle into like either honey jack on the rocks or like a Jack and Coke or rum and Coke. I was very much a dark alcohol enjoyer, so Jack Daniels whiskeys, bourbons, rum especially. I felt like a pirate. There's this one rum that Captain Morgan made that was called like Tattoo or something like that. It was very dark, and it was so good I could drink it straight. It was great.
Yeah, I think was it,
or it's just so fucking sloshed that I couldn't taste at that point. But you know.
Okay, moving on. Tomas, what's your question?
We'll move on to the 2 quick hockey questions before getting to a couple of general topics, and then our day by day. This one comes from Tomas. What random prospect from each of your respective favorite teams, well, it says favorite and least favorite teams, are you rooting for to make it, and why? So I guess a prospect on your team and a prospect on your most hated team that you'd like to see make it. I might have to do a tad bit of research for this one, because when I first read it, I thought the question was essentially like, what was your favorite like random prospect on your favorite team once upon a time? And my answer would have been someone like Jonathan Girard, because why not? But yeah, a prospect. Okay, so we'll start off on our favorite teams. Sin, your favorite Sharks prospect is essentially the question.
Oh man, that's
tough.
That's a really tough call, because I'm rooting for all of them technically, but I gotta say one of my favorite is probably it's probably got to be Knyazov. And
he's played a decent amount, right?
Well, he played a bit in preseason. He's maybe played a game or 2 at NHL. I think you're thinking of Knyazov, who played last year for a good amount, but has been injured. But yeah, Knyazov has not really played a whole lot. He's just, I just love him. Yeah, I love him like I love Mario Ferraro, in the fact that he can play a very complete game. He's better, got more upside offensively. I was just watching him in preseason, just the way he would like take control of the game at certain times and jump up into the play at the right times. And yeah, and it's usually I'm always rooting for, a defenseman or something like that in that regard. But yeah, I really have high hopes for him that he could crack the roster. I think he could be a middle pairing type guy and just be very, very solid. So yeah, I'm rooting for him, definitely.
Endo, your favorite Leafs prospect. I feel like you have some good options available.
Yes. A lot of them did make the jump up to the NHL because of the certain issues with the Leafs having injuries and all that fun stuff. I'm going to exclude saying Joshua Ho-Sang because that's an obvious pick. And technically speaking, he's not a prospect because he's under an AHL contract. If you want to say prospect, I would say Joshua Ho-Sang. I think he's going to get called up near the end of the year, past the trade deadline and all that. He's doing really, really well over there. Alex Steeves is doing phenomenal up there right now. He did really, really well down there in the A, and I believe he deserved the call up for sure with the Toronto Maple Leafs organization. Also, Justin
Zach Senyshyn.
Zach Senyshyn.
For obvious reasons. Yeah. The better he turns out, the better for all of us. That is my answer for my favorite prospect on the Bruins, who I would like to see make it one day. Zach Senyshyn. For least favorite, I will designate least favorite as the Montreal Canadiens. I think, obviously, it goes kind of hand in hand. I don't know if the Habs are the team that I hate the most, but they are the team I like dunking on the most.
Yeah.
So probably. Which might be the correct way to answer this question. And for me, there are 2 guys who come to mind. And it's Ryan Poehling, because Habs fans seem to hate him for some reason. I don't know why. People already kind of tagging
he's not
him
a
with the
2C
bust
yet,
label.
that's why.
And, as much as I'd love to see him not succeed for this team, but succeed for a different team, Cole Caulfield. Bottom line is Cole Caulfield has a chance to be, a Rocket Richard winner. And hopefully the Habs don't screw that up I think, the game of hockey is better off if someone like Cole Caulfield reaches his maximum potential. So Cole Caulfield's the answer. Now, Sin, I'm intrigued. Who do you list as your lead? It's got to be Vegas.
Yeah,
it's over the California team. It's got to be Vegas.
Yeah.
So do you have a prospect on Vegas?
They can all suck a dick.
Oh my god.
I don't know, man. Like I don't know. I hope none of them make it. I want Vegas to crash and burn, but
you have to. It's the holiday season. You have to be nice.
Fine.
Name a prospect and tell me why it's Nick Hague because he was a legend on one of my franchise modes.
Yeah, I don't know, man. Maybe
in the holiday season, it's so tough to be nice.
Maybe Caden Korczak, just because
there you go,
a right shot defenseman. He's a second round selection. I kind of like those guys who, especially defensemen who emerge from the second round, because a lot, they're all kind of fly under the radar like that. I mean, Vlasic was one, Ferraro was one of those type of guys, and you really kind of root for them to kind of become those impact players. So, yeah, I guess him, but yeah, everyone else can suck a big D. Especially Peyton Krebs.
Fair enough.
He's going to be
Peyton Krebs isn't there ananymore.
Oh, right.
He was in the Eichel trade.
Right, yeah. Actually, he's going to become a 1C.
Trade.
Yeah, he's a 1C now, future 1C.
There
you go. And who would you describe as your least favorite team? And as a result, what prospect?
I'm going to say that the Habs. I'm going to go for a different pick than anybody else is saying right now. I'm going to go for defenseman Arbor Jackeye. And the reason why I say this,
the name,
the name alone, and also he's serving a 3-game suspension for getting to a fight, but then doing go to sleep actions after he did the fight.
Oof.
So this is like his second suspension, I believe too. So this is a big like gritty guy, I guess. He clearly can stand up for himself and his teams. I remember reading this article last week when they announced the initial suspension. They didn't say how long it was indefinite, so they didn't really have a day or time. Reading about like how he was away from the last time these guys played Owen Sound, because he plays for the Kitchener Rangers, I believe. Yeah, Kitchener Rangers, and how they're getting tossed around. And he decided this game that he's back to step up and basically tell their team like they're not going to get pushed around anymore. So it's a good leadership move, but that's a dumbass move in the way to celebrate after by telling your guy to go to sleep. I mean, the OHL does have like a 3-fight policy per season, I believe. So he seems like a good grit guy that would be good in their system if he does develop and become a bigger guy. But yeah, that's definitely something the Habs need. I'm surprised they're not freaking out over like they have this defenseman who can fight people. And it's like Canadian, like Czech as well. So it's like he's a Czech and Canadian.
Our final question before we get into some more general topics. This comes from friend of the channel, friend of the podcast, Phil at Arcade Regiment, also twitch.tv/Arcade Regiment. And we've talked about this a lot on the show, but I want to know Sin's updated thoughts here because he hasn't got to mention it in a while. The percentage you give of NHL players going to the Olympics. I personally put it at 0.001% at this stage. I am fully on board with the idea of they're not going at this point. And especially, too, because as we were getting ready to record the show, hey, guess what? More people are on COVID protocol, this time for the Carolina Hurricanes. Sebastian Aho, Seth Jarvis, and a member of their training staff. So, yeah, we keep seeing instances popping up. There's the policy of, a 3-week quarantine for those who, if they go to the Olympics and end up testing positive, they have to stay there. So, yeah, I don't think they're going.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to go.
I think they're going to go. I'm going to give it about a 50% chance right now, simply because this league is fucking incompetent.
Yeah.
They want to protect their assets, but more importantly, they want to, I don't know, man. I just feel like they're going to go. And because, I mean, it was, what did Gary Bettman recently say? Like, or someone said, like, it's going to be up to the players. We're going to leave it up to the players or something of that nature. I can't remember the exact quote. And for that reason, I feel like players are going to want to go, and because they're not ownership, they're not this. Then they could. So for me, it's like, I don't know. It's a half and half thing. Obviously, Gary Bettman could completely go back on that statement and be like, no, you guys can't go now. But yeah, I don't know. It's a interesting situation. Probably not best, or probably best for them to not go. But I mean, who the hell knows? Because it's a different story for everyone in COVID protocol. Sharks had 7 guys missing. No games missed. Isles got up to 8. They finally, got games postponed. Canada teams get postponed immediately. Who knows?
Yeah. Like, it seems like they only really care about Canada. For the first time ever, I think the NHL cares about Canada. I guess because of the viewership, I guess. But at the same time,
I think also because the travel restrictions, probably, I don't know, like the border I don't know. That's what I've been hearing. I've been hearing that might have something to do with how quickly those games get postponed, but who knows?
Yeah, there was something along the lines of the Calgary Flames not wanting to travel because they could get stuck on the wrong side of the border. There's a lot with that. But yeah. In terms of the NHL going to the Olympics, I have no confidence that's going to happen at this stage. Which leads us to one of our general topics, which again also has me thinking that, I mean, hey, it's wishful thinking, but probably won't happen. Andrew Azar, I think it's Zadarnowski?
Zadarnowski, yeah.
Zadarnowski, there we go. Mentioned this on Twitter. The KHL is negotiating with the NHL to host the Capitals and Lightning in Russia for exhibition games this upcoming September. With them playing against KHL teams for the sole purpose of being able to highlight Alex Ovechkin and Nikita Kucherov as the big draws. I won't say it won't happen. Like, we've seen the NHL do this in, like, the Czech Republic and stuff like that in the past. So yeah, I mean, it's not totally out of the question that the NHL and KHL would work together on this. I mean, for the NHL, trying to lock down more of the Russian market by bringing your teams there, and for the KHL, hey, it's a mutually beneficial deal. Yeah. I could see it happening, but obviously, much like the Olympics, it's contingent on certain outside factors. So I don't know. Cool in theory. Will it happen anytime soon? I doubt it.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea. I've always been wondering about when they're going to expand over to the KHL, just to see how everything is and how. I've always wanted to see, like, how big of a talent level gap there is, because I know a lot of guys that retire here, go over to play in the K, and that's like the closest league there is to the NHL. So it'd be good to see like a top talent. I can already tell, like, it's probably going to be like Avant-Garde against Avant-Garde and maybe CSKA and SKA Moscow going up. It's not going to be like a bottom team like Kunlun, which is essentially the Chinese national team, because of like weird ruling and having all their players playing China like 3 years ago. Like,
got to get ready for the Olympics to get pooped on by Canada, which is official, by the way. They're keeping those groups the same. So Canada versus China is going to happen, and it's, well, if the Olympics happen, which it won't, but in theory, it would be the biggest mismatch in hockey history.
Yeah, it's going to be bad.
And then in the one final note here, which I don't really want to get into too much, but people are asking me if we were going to talk about it, so hey, at least we'll acknowledge it.
Dystopia.
The USHL, which is an interesting league. One of their teams, the Sioux Stampede, held an event over the weekend in which and you have probably seen this, a group of teachers were made to essentially grovel on their hands and knees and try to play Hungry Hungry Hippos with money that was on the floor to help earn money for teaching supplies. Nobody with the Sioux Falls Stampede thought that was a bad idea. Nobody. Have them shoot the puck from center ice, do something else skill-related, but literally having teachers on their hands and knees grasping at dollars. You thought that was a good idea and would get you good publicity. We're talking about it, so if you believe in all publicity is good publicity, then sure. The Sioux Falls Stampede can go fuck themselves. Those are my thoughts on this story.
here's what I don't understand. What's the entertainment value of that? What's like this? If you're gonna have an event like that, there's like a prize system. There's no entertainment value to that. Besides, like, I don't understand it. Like, who looked at that and thought, yeah, this is fun to watch? Like, unless you're a sick fucking sadist, like watching people who desperately need money. Like, we've literally reached the tippy top of like a dystopian fucking system. Like, when's the last time you saw a military have to fucking scoop up $1 bills for bombs? When's the last time you saw police have to buy their own fucking handcuffs? I don't get it. I just don't get it. And the fact of like the matter was like they thought that this was a good idea. Then it was reported on by a journalist as like, oh, here they go. And like, what the hell? How are you as a journalist, like with any measure of integrity, not report this for what it is, which is an indictment upon an entire country's system of economics and the way they view teachers and education in general? And that's what it is. And you're a shitty fucking journalist if you don't report it like that. You don't see the big picture, and you're probably just under someone's thumb.
Certain people would be like, well, they didn't have to give them the chance to get the money at all. So, I mean, they're technically helping. Someone's...
Just write a goddamn check. Like, you don't need to have them make a spectacle. Like, how degrading is
like
that?
The idea of, like, okay, do the center ice challenge.
Oh, we center ice challenge for sure.
And, yeah, do the center ice challenge and be like, oh, nobody made it. We're still going to give you the money anyway. Yeah. And then everyone's fucking happy. Yeah. Like, it's that fucking simple.
Yeah, or like you do like...
What the fuck is the matter with you?
Like curling style. Like closest one to like the hole gets like the bigger pot and like it goes back out backwards like that. Like, I think it was a massive oversight. And they clearly did not like peer review this and say, hey, yeah, we just dumped $5,000 on the middle of like the ice on a carpet, so it's kind of humane a little bit.
Nice and warm.
Yeah, nice and warm carpet. It's fine. It's okay. And we just made them go on their hands and knees and whatever they could carry. No bag. I think the worst part about that was that someone took off their hat to put money in there, and like it's like that's bad. Like that 5,000 you could have just given to them directly. You could have just easily, but there was like 5 of them there, or it was like 5 or 6. You could have each given them $1,000 to their school or their classroom to donate and get supplies, instead of having to go on your hands and knees and essentially fight for it like pigs in like a pig pen, while the check holders are at the top, just like, oh yes, I enjoy this, yes. The money,
basically.
Yeah,
the USHL is a top tier development program at this point. It is, and the problem is these are the headlines coming out of it. Shit like this, shit like the Tri-City Storm of the USHL. I mentioned it on the show. I don't know if you guys recall what defenseman's currently on their roster.
Right.
Arizona Coyotes legend Mitch Miller in that league as well. That was one of the more recent headlines from that particular deal. But he's a point per game, 22 and 22. It's got to give those talented kids who, like, it all makes sense. So yeah, the USHL, maybe don't support that league. Maybe don't. That's up to you. You make your choices. But at the end of the day. We'll move in to, and again, you can kind of see why I didn't want to bring it up, but a lot of people asked me about it. It's technically a hockey-related topic, so let's talk about it. Fuck it. We'll get into the day by day. Let's go back to last Thursday to start things off. We have a lot of things to talk about from throughout the weekend. We'll start off with the Lightning beating the Leafs 5-3, highlighted by Steven Stamkos' 13th of the season, because he's ridiculous. Andre Palat had a 2-goal game. He's up to 9 on the year. And this was a game in which John Cooper became the fastest head coach in league history to win 400 games. It took him 659 regular season games to do so. The previous record was Bruce Boudreau at 663. So he beat the record by 4 games. And man, I feel like John Cooper's coaching tenure with the Lightning is going to be something that we talk about for a long time.
He was so close
because
to being
you talk
fired.
About exactly. Yeah. You talk about a team that is dominant, and oh my God, they're going up against the Blue Jackets, and they get swept. And the conversation is, how do you possibly bring John Cooper back after that? They do. 2 cups, and now the fastest head coach in history to win 400 games.
Mm-hmm.
It's crazy. Like, what might have been if they fired him? What might have been?
Yeah.
Who the hell knows?
The entire fandom was seemingly calling for it, like how badly he got out-coached in that series. And, yeah, man. I mean, maybe if they were in a bigger market or a Canadian market, they would have had
if he was in a Canadian market.
Oh, my God.
Maybe not. Because I wanted to say if he was in a Canadian market, maybe. But a certain Mike Babcock wasn't fired and was given, like, a month into a new season before being fired after another playoff collapse in the first round. So, I don't know. Some Canadian teams, how fucking long was Jim Benning around in Vancouver?
Well,
like, I get the idea of Canadian teams recently, of course, because they finally started doing shit. Would have gotten rid of John Cooper, but honestly, Canadian teams have been really conservative with holding on to certain talent levels.
That's true. They always kind of find other scapegoats half the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Who knows?
Yeah. Like, my Leafs will just yell at everybody else and yell about all the problems. And then I love how last year it was Justin Hall.
Fuck Jake Gardner in particular.
Yeah, fuck Jake Gardner. And now it's just like, oh, who are we going to yell at this year? Justin Hall signed a really, really team-friendly contract. Oh, what's that? He sucks? All right. You're Jake Gardner now. God.
Someone on the Leafs roster always has to be Meg from Family Guy.
Basically. There's a play on words there with Toronto Maple Leafs and Meg, but I can't get it right now. But hey,
Meg,
for the Leafs as well.
There you go.
Yeah, that was the easy one that I didn't want to go with. So. For the Leafs in general, who will that scapegoat be this year? Maybe it will be Andre Kasha, who had a 2-goal game, 7th and 8th of the year.
Don't you dare.
William Nylander also scored his 12th. And then again, William Nylander's like a perennial scapegoat, at least among certain Canadian media outlets. So maybe it'll be William Nylander again.
He's like their fucking best player. I don't understand it.
Well, TSN likes Willie Styles, so I'm happy about that. They've switched heads. Now it's Sportsnet running amok on. I don't know. He's a nice guy. I met him. It's pretty cool.
There you go. Also on Thursday, the Chicago Blackhawks beat the Montreal Canadiens 2-0. It was a shutout from Marc-Andre Fleury for his 500th career win. Again, just the third goalie to ever accomplish that feat. Jonathan Taves as well scored his first of the year because he sucks and in guilty conscience weighs heavy.
Yeah, and he's always been overrated, and now I have zero guilt in actually saying it loudly from the mountaintops. Actually, I never had guilt saying it. I just feel more vindicated now, especially that he's a shit human. Anyway.
There you go.
Yeah.
A couple of rather unnotable games. The Ducks beat the Blue Jackets. The Preds beat the Islanders. But then we get to the Blues beating the Detroit Red Wings 6-2 with a call-up Nathan Walker, Caps legend, Australian legend, scoring a hat trick for his first 3 goals of the season. We call that a Rem Pitlick. Ridiculous. Just, again, another one, like, I feel like already, like, we're not even in January yet, and the highlight reel package for, like, moments of the season is already, like, 20 minutes long.
Yeah.
Like, this has been an unbelievable season in terms of moments where you're going to be like, oh, yeah, that happened. Hell, Charlie Lindgren was the winning goaltender in this game. He is their 4th-string goalie, if I'm not mistaken. Just madness. And for the Red Wings, Robbie Fabry against his former team had a 2-goal game, 7th and 8th of the year. But the Nathan Walker hat trick.
So cool.
I feel sorry for him because it's going to get buried at this rate in the list of great moments of the season. And I think you two both agree.
No, I mean it was just such a cool moment. Like, yeah, that's like great for him. I always like those kind of guys, like those role player type guys. I find it really hard to not root for them. And good for him.
The Carolina Hurricanes beat the Calgary Flames 2-1 in overtime. Sebastian Aho, 12th and 13th goals of the year. And again, we hope he is well. But for the Calgary Flames, the notable moment here, Jerome McGinley's son was just drafted 9th overall in the WHL to the Seattle Thunderbirds. How old, Sin, do we feel?
Very old. I remember when he won the Maurice Richard.
Oh my God! Like we've reached the point. It was mentioned in my Twitch chat. Like Shane Doan's son drafted into the NHL. Jerome McGinley's son will eventually, the next couple of years, be drafted into the NHL most likely. I feel so old. Yeah. I haven't even hit 30 yet, and I feel so old. It's ridiculous. And then there's Endo, who's the baby of this podcast, who's like, yeah, it's fine.
Oh, you think that's old? We're probably going to talk about this later, but Connor Bedard just got announced to the Canada World Junior roster, and he's 16 years old.
Yeah. I mean, you know what? We were going to bring that up, but honestly, there's not too much we can say. I mean, you could talk about the snubs. By the way, again, forgot to mute the audio, so shout out to Melvin Estro for the Twitch follow. Twitch.tv/Tougie24.
A kid who just got a G1 license in Ontario. A kid who could just legally just vote. I think it's voting in 16. I can't remember. It's 18. But a kid who can drive a car, who just got a license, is learning license, is playing against kids who are up to 21. That is, what the fuck am I doing with my life? It really makes you think. God, I didn't realize how old I was, but God, 23 is pretty old. Jeez.
I mean, again, the Canadian World Junior roster is obviously a lot of talk about, who was snubbed and everything. You're always going to have snubs.
Yeah.
It's the Team Canada roster. There are snubs every year. I don't really think it's overly notable to talk about. Yeah. There is the conversation of, I don't believe they took a single right-handed defenseman, but at the same time, it's like, I don't know. It's Canada. They do weird things all the time. There are snubs all the time. It is what it is. The Boston Bruins beat the Edmonton Oilers on Thursday 3-2. Marchand's 10th, Jake DeBrusk's 5th. Get that trade value up, baby, before you get traded to the Sharks. And Matt Grzelcyk with his first of the year as the winner. For the Oilers, Draisaitl 22nd and 23rd on the year in 25 games at that point.
No more 82-goal season, but he's hitting 70. Come on.
Ridiculous.
Please.
If he doesn't hit at least 60, it means he got injured.
Yeah.
Right? That's the only way that he'll be stopped at this point. Now, I want to mention something, though, aside from the game.
Lol.
Mike Milbury this week was circulating, or at least last week, was circulating surrounding, Boston sports fandom, because he was quoted on a radio show in saying, "It's time for Boston to move on from Patrice Bergeron. It would be hard to trade Marchand, but it's worth the discussion as well."
It would not be hard to trade Marchand. You know how many teams out there would like a Marchand on his contract and what he brings to the table? Is he making $7 million?
6.
What the? Who? What? Give me Marchand. Marchand for Kane, 1-for-1. Who says no? Bruins, but
Brad Marchand. You want to know why this is the best contract in the NHL? He is making $6,125 for 3 more years after this.
And he's
Brad Marchand. Now look,
70 points.
I get that he might not be the biggest favorite in the locker room to some people that he's had run-ins with. Allow me to list you the last few seasons of Brad Marchand. 85 points in 80 games. 85 points in 68 games. 179, 87 in 70 games. 69 points, very nice, in 53 games. Nice. And this year he has 27 points in 21 games.
Holy shit. He's even
hard to trade him, though.
That'd be so easy to trade. What the? Well, it's Mike Milbury. I think he's...
Exactly.
He'll trade anybody.
The more you talk about it, you're like, oh, yeah, that's right. It's Mike Milbury who said this absurdly dumb thing.
I was very, I was feeling good because I hadn't heard from him in a while. I think he's just trying to get himself back into the fucking hockey conversation. Where's he been? Because NBC ain't doing games anymore. He ain't there. He's not with TNT or ESPN or anything like that. So he's just going to come out with some stupid take. Him and Tortorella are competing to fill the void of Don Cherry. Stupid. No, whatever. It's Mike Milbury.
Again,
who cares?
Maybe all press is good press.
69 years old? God, go to retirement home and keep your thoughts to yourself at this point. Jeez.
Milbury's 69?
Yeah.
Oh,
June 17th, 1952.
For his age.
I mean, he played in the 70s.
Yeah.
So
Botox.
Yeah.
Couldn't get you more
God.
brain cells, huh? Though.
I mean, it's one of those things where, just maybe all press is good press, but is it worth coming back if you're just going to get dunked on for being an old man? Yeah. I don't know. And honestly, we can talk about this now, too. I was going to save it for a little bit later on, but while we're talking about old white men yelling at clouds, there is another comment that was out there this week in regards to the Anaheim Ducks, as Sin missed getting to talk about maybe the goal of the year, my goal of the year.
That was so sick. I love Zegras so much. Like, he's so sick. Anyway, yeah, please.
The John Tortorella quote of, I don't know if the Zegras Milano, by the way, the term Dishigan, I love.
Never heard that yet.
That was what I grabbed from the headline. The term is Dishigan, apparently. Basically, John Tortorella doesn't know if the Dishigan is good for the game. Every time John Tortorella talks, he can never have a balanced take. It's either on one side of the spectrum or the other. It can never be anywhere in the middle. There's never a nuanced take. It's either, oh yeah, John Tortorella talking about this. Yeah, no, everyone agrees. And then he has a take like this where it's like, what the hell are you talking about?
Yeah.
It's the evolution of the game. How, in what way would this be bad for the game? Unless you're going to be like, well, it's more players raising their sticks and that could result in injuries. Well, we have the example of 2 different players being stretchered off the ice in the past week because the game has become so fast and you haven't changed the rules for hitting, so people are getting fucking floored. Yeah. But no, Trevor Zegras to Sonny Milano is bad for the game.
Yeah, here's what the part that I really took away from this quote. It's the fact that he said, oh, if you try that, 20 years ago, you get your head taken off. And that doesn't raise a fucking exclamation point in your mind where it's like, oh yeah, you'll get your head taken off if you try fancy stuff like that. But, so head trauma, good. Fancy goals that draw in fans from the fucking NBA who we should probably kind of target because it's a similar style of game in a lot of ways and who we could probably poach 5-on-5, etc. so forth. Like, the speed of the game is exciting. We start bringing in the fancy plays like basketball has, also exciting. Good for growing the game.
So yeah, the Brady, I think it's Tretanero. There's some names here that are killing me, and I'm sorry. It's at Brady Tret, Trett. His initial tweet, it's got fucking 3 million views for a hockey clip on Twitter. That's massive.
Yeah.
There's not too much that's going to circulate that much in the hockey world to get 3 million views on Twitter. Like, the impressions are insane.
And basketball fans were in there chiming in and calling it like a hockey alley-oop and stuff like that. And like, we need that. We need more crossover. So like, stop with this dinosaur take of trying to protect like this weird spirit of the game. Let me tell you something. If we found out anything over the course of this season, the spirit of the game sucks. The culture around the game sucks. Let's tear it down and build this new fun culture of inclusion and cool shit. Like having fun, being a person. Stop being a robot. This isn't the 1980s Soviet fucking team. Like, why we gotta be robots and, score a goal and never smile and don't celebrate and goddamn. Like, what is this? Why moving back? Why does hockey want to move backwards so badly? It's so weird.
Okay.
Boy, it's almost like hockey is a reflection of real life where old white men are halting progress as much as they possibly can.
Yeah.
Can I say one thing
once again?
Can I say one thing real quick about the whole thing? I see where he's coming from, but at the same time, I don't. Like I said it's a Timo on Twitter. Good friend of the channel, creative graphic designer, Baker and Timo. I see in like a fundamental standpoint why he would oppose something like this as creative, because it's more flashy, but at the same time, it's innovation. And what the old saying is, innovation takes risks. The fact that this is like a set play at this point because Sonny Milano called out for him to hit a Michigan, and Trevor Zegras flipped it up instead, and it was basically like a set play. And while I agree with having this as like a new avenue that people are going through and being more creative. It is great, but I see why he sees it as the fundamentals of hockey being changed and altered in a way. I see both. I see both aspects of it.
It's probably a good thing.
Yeah, I'm for it. I'm for it, but I see where he's coming from.
I will say his concept of he'd get lit up. Again, we're seeing players get fucking decked in terms of these hits in the past couple of weeks, especially. So he acts as if there was never the possibility that someone was going to come around the back of the net and floor him before he could pull off that move.
Yeah.
Like, that risk is still there. It's called understanding the time and the space and having the balls to pull off that move. Mm-hmm. And that's what makes that goal so special.
Yeah.
So, John Tortorella, just... at this point. Like, anytime he wins good equity, he just throws it away.
Yeah, and, like, more to the point of, like, the fundamentals and playing defense. Like, the point of the game is still to score goals. Like, you can't... what Tortorella specialized in is making one of the most unwatchable brands of hockey. Yeah, it was effective, you win, but, like, he didn't. Like, at the end of the day, like, he didn't win enough, and it's, like, you can still do that kind of stuff and still play solid defensively. These things aren't mutually exclusive, and you don't. We can have both things. You know, it's okay. Really, it's gonna be okay. There's still gonna be your hard-nosed plays and your hard-nosed players. Hockey's a very large team and a very large team sport, and you need all the roles to be filled. But you know, it's gonna be okay if we have plays like this.
But I want my sport to be like it was back in the good old days where players smoked on the bench.
Drinking beers in the locker room.
And colored people drank from different water fountains. Like, fucking hell.
Jesus.
That's the quote I got from fucking, of all people, lovely friend of the show, OG Kevin Bacon. Oh, man. This Judy says is fucking hilarious. I love that guy. Oh, man. Not afraid to tip the scales.
No. So... other games on Thursday, we got a couple other ones to get to. The Jets beat the Kraken 3-0. Connor Hellebuck shutout. Kyle Connor 16th and 17th of the season.
What a season he's having.
Give me a Kyle Connor Bruins jersey so I can cry into it every night. That's what I want for Christmas. The LA Kings beat the Dallas Stars 4-0. Jonathan Quick with the shutout. Look, you could argue who's up there for the Masterton and for what reasons, but like Jonathan Quick's reemergence this year is a story that's not getting, I'd say, enough attention. He's been really good this year, and if the LA Kings make the playoffs, as of Thursday, they were 11-10-4, so but if the Kings make the playoffs, I think Jonathan Quick has a good shot at the Masterton, and Adrian Kempe scored his 11th of the year. He's also having a really good season, and... boys, if you don't have any thoughts on those games, we can move on to Sin's thoughts on the Sharks game, although I don't know if he saw it.
What day was this? Thursday? No, I didn't see it.
Yeah, so
I watched some highlights. I saw some bits and pieces, and I saw a lot of Sharks fans being like, why couldn't Burns hold off Greenway? Well, Greenway's big. Shut the fuck up.
Greenway's a big dude.
A big boy.
Burns is 36, man. Dad time catches up, all right? Whatever.
Right, like that's like being like, oh, why can't this old lion fend off the new young lion? Yeah. Like, what the hell are you talking
We're
about?
the same breed of lion. It should work.
Jesus. So Minnesota beat San Jose 5-2. Eriksson Ek his 11th. He's been great. Greenway had his 3rd and 4th of the year, and then Kaprizov. That goal total's finally getting up there. He's up to 10. Mm-hmm. Of course, we talked about him earlier in the season. It's like, oh no, Jake Voracek. A lot of assists, very few goals. But how many assists, of course. For the Sharks, Jonathan Dahlin, his 8th of the year. He's been great for the Sharks still. Tomas Hertl, future Bruin, please. Please.
It's going to cost you a lot.
Of the year. Have a nice, shiny Jake DeBrusk, a first and a prospect, and call it a day.
Not enough.
God. Yeah. So, an interesting set of games there. We'll move on to Friday. Where the New York Rangers beat the Buffalo Sabres 2-1. Honestly, the Sabres got jobbed. There was a tweet here. According to a source, the NHL Situation Room called the Sabres and Rangers to say it incorrectly called offside on a disallowed goal for the Sabres that would have tied the game. So that would happen to Buffalo.
Yeah.
Of all teams. That would happen to Buffalo. In this game for the Rangers, though, Lafreniere, his 6th of the year, so he's gotten better since we kind of talked about he and Capo Caco's struggles. But Mika Zibanejad scored his 5th of the year. Now, he has 16 assists, 21 points, but only 5 goals for Mika Zibanejad, where, if I'm not mistaken, he had a game last year where he scored 4 in a game. It at least makes me look at that stat line to say, what's going on with Mika Zibanejad?
Yeah.
So, I'm intrigued to see. I mean, the Rangers, though, as much as you want to dissect certain issues, like, Zibanejad's not scoring as much, this game pushed them to 18-5-3.
They're still winning. Like that at this point, it's like whatever. Like good teams find ways to win, and apparently the Rangers are now just a good team. Like for a while, I mean, with that, I felt like they were going to fall back down to earth, but they did the opposite, where they improved that goal differential, and I think that's been pretty massive for them. But again, a 2-1 win, yeah, maybe a bit of luck, but still, you have to win the close games as well as outscore your opponent, and we'll see. We'll see how they're able to do come the playoffs, because I don't think there's any doubt that they're going to make it playing like this.
Again, you said good teams find a way to win. That roster in some ways almost defies logic as to how they're so good. But hey, results are results. The Pittsburgh Penguins beat the Washington Capitals 4-2. Goals for the Penguins from Heinen and Jeff Carter. 8 goals for both of them actually on the year. So of course they just keep finding a way. Kuznetsov, his 9th for the Caps. I'll keep pointing out of getting Kuznetsov as much as I can. Like he has really turned things around, where he was in that John Cooper role of like, get rid of him, move on from him. And it's a good thing Washington didn't. 16-5-6 despite the loss as of Friday. The Nashville Predators beat the New Jersey Devils 3-2. Yossi his 9th, because Roman Yossi's a freak. Talk about, again, someone who doesn't get enough credit. And Pavel Zacha, his 9th for the Devils. He's been good too. But then we get to an interesting couple of stats here. It's Colorado beating Detroit 7-3. Andre Burakovsky scored his 8th and 9th of the year in this game. Cale Makar has 12 goals as of Friday. 12.
Dude, the Avalanche have just been on fire.
So they scored 7 goals. This was one of the tweets I saw. After scoring 7 goals tonight, over the last 30 days, the Colorado Avalanche are now outscoring the Denver Broncos 73-50. They have more goals than the Broncos had points over a 30-day span. And again, like Nathan McKinnon had been injured in that time. And then there was the other stat line saying, with their 7th goal tonight, the Avs have scored 7 goals in 6 different games this year, including a span where they did it 3 times in a row. So again, 7-goal games, they have 6 of them. No other team has more than 2.
That's insane, dude.
They have to win.
Yeah.
They have to win. Like, there are...
As long as they call the fucking rule book in the playoffs, they got a good goddamn chance.
Yeah.
Call the rule book. Nazem Kadri doesn't get suspended. Yeah. Avoid major injuries. The Avs have no excuse to not win the Stanley Cup, so long as those factors aren't there.
Vegas just going to grit everyone down.
God, I
hate it.
We'll see what happens.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens with them is the best way to phrase it at this point, but that was just unreal. The Panthers beat the Coyotes 3-2. Sam Bennett has 9 goals on the year. Not much to talk about when you say the Panthers are playing the Coyotes. And then the Vancouver Canucks beat the Winnipeg Jets 4-3 in a shootout. Nils Höglander, 6th and 7th on the year. For the Jets, Blake Wheeler scored his 1st of the year. Kyle Connor scored his 18th of the year. And Mark Scheifele scored his 7th. So the Jets have bounced back a little bit. Like, obviously, Scheifele, it took him forever to get that first goal of the year. Blake Wheeler finally gets his first, which is nice for them. And we'll talk more about the Canucks in a little bit. And then you get to the final game on Friday as the Flyers beat the Golden Knights 4-3. Philadelphia snapping a pretty brutal loss streak, if I'm not mistaken. 9-12-4 as of this game.
They started
talk
out
more
so
about
good.
them in a little bit too. That is a team that somehow is failing.
Yeah.
They are better than their record. But again, we'll talk about that in a second because there was an article out there that I want to discuss. I don't know for the Golden Knights, Pacioretty 8th and 9th of the year after, I believe, missing some time due to injury. So we move to Saturday. The Ottawa Senators beat the Tampa Bay Lightning 4-0. The Sens 8-16-1, the Lightning 17-6-4. Anton Forsberg shut out the Tampa Bay Lightning. Josh Norris scored his 12th of the year. He's been great. I mean, goddamn. Like, as much as you talk about, trading Carlson at the time.
Yeah.
Like, dude, Josh Norris looks like he is going to be that stud top 6 center for the Sens.
Yeah. I mean, it's why the Sharks drafted him, and he was gonna be like a Couture type player, and he's showing to be that. Scoring big goals, he plays a solid two-way game. And you don't hear about him a whole lot, and that's pretty much Logan Couture in a nutshell. Like he's fucking good, and I'm good for him. I had high hopes when the Sharks drafted him, and hopefully the Sens can figure their shit out.
There's no guarantee the roster would still be the same. But in theory, this season, Hurdle, Couture, Norris up the middle. Oof. Would that be tough for any team to deal with? Brady Tkachuk as well in this game had a hat trick, up to 11 goals on the year. He has 21 points in 22 games played as of this past Saturday after missing the first couple of games after the contract situation, and then taking a little bit to get going. But Brady Tkachuk is, he's the real deal. He's the real deal. As much as you were kind of worried about that contract, to be like, yeah, they're kind of paying him for what he's going to be. Turns out he was on a pretty fast trajectory to get to where they wanted him to be. 21 and 22 is great.
I'm glad things sort of worked out for Ottawa, because it feels like so often things don't work out, but then, they got a little bit of the whole, the luck thing with the Stutzla situation after the Carlson trade. It's seeming to kind of work, but then this season they start off like 4 whatever they were. They're doing slightly better now, but Dorian, just keep your fucking mouth shut and stop saying the rebuild's over. Do your goddamn job. Eugene Melnick, stay away from the team like a good owner should, and let the guys figure it out. Like, that's what the Sens need. Like, this, let the team sort of sort itself out, man. I promise. Like, don't rush it along like the Habs, all right? Because you're going to end up in another retooling state in a few years if you do.
Worth noting as well, the goalie in the other net for the Tampa Bay Lightning, Brian Elliott. Now, from a 3-year perspective, given the role that he's been in, caught some flack that Brian Elliott still has a half-decent rating in my custom rosters for NHL 22. Again, if you're on Series S or X, download them today, along with the likes of Tactics, HD on YouTube, and Snipe and Score. That's Snipe and Score production with his old school 2007 and 1997 base rosters, which are big chef's kiss. But for Brian Elliott, he has been trash. And, maybe not trash. Like, his numbers have bounced back a little bit, but it makes you wonder, we had that conversation, like, oh shit, if Vassy goes down, like, Tampa has to get a goalie. Brian Elliott, his save percentages in recent seasons. So, like, once upon a time when he was in St. Louis, his final year in St. Louis, he had a .930 in 42 games. And then he went to Calgary, which I don't remember at all. 49 games for the Flames and a .910. It's not that bad. Goes to the Flyers, .909. That's okay by Philly standards because they ruin goalies.
Yep.
Case in point, .907, .899, .889 in subsequent years. And this year he has 6 games with the Lightning and a .903 save percentage. Just oof.
Yeah.
Oof is the only thing I can say. That's a rough scene for Brian Elliott at this point. Yeah. Losing 4-0 to Ottawa as well. Just not that the offense helped him, but I don't know. I'm intrigued to see if the Lightning make some moves at some point. The St. Louis Blues beat the Montreal Canadiens 4-1. Charlie Lindgren. I'm thinking of Rangers Ryan Lindgren. Charlie Lindgren. That's how shocking it is. Gets a win against his former team. Bushnevich is 11th, Barbashev his 10th. So the Blues at 15-8-4, and the Habs down to 6-20-3. Oof.
It's so bad, dude.
It gets worse every time you think about it. You're like, oh, the Habs are bad. Then you realize how bad they are in their situation. And then you're like, Oh, it's that bad.
They're with the Coyotes, who are literally trying to be bad. The Habs weren't.
Yeah.
They just went to the cup. They had all these high hopes, and then let Dano go, and then Weber kind of melted away. But yeah, it was.
Then Price had
poor
the situation.
I don't know what the Habs are gonna do. They're so fucked right now.
Off of point percentage, Montreal is 31st out of 32 teams. Only ahead of the Arizona Coyotes.
Woof.
Brutal. Like,
Woof.
who had Montreal being worse than Ottawa, being worse than Buffalo? And they are so far. It's crazy. And it's got to be scary if you're a Habs fan. The Washington Capitals beat the Buffalo Sabres 3-2 in a shootout. The Caps record 17-5-6. And they are now preparing for Nicholas Backstrom to make his season debut.
Oh wait, what? He hasn't been playing?
They have done that.
I just don't pay attention.
17-5-6 without Nicholas Backstrom.
Holy shit.
Ridiculous.
How many goals does Ovi have again?
20 and 28.
That is without Nicholas Backstrom. And I believe Nicholas Backstrom leads, like, out of all players that Ovi's played with, he's, like, the number one, like, assist guy.
Setup man. Yeah, he is.
Number one.
That's the combo there. That's been the combo basically since day one.
Yeah.
As far as I can remember, it's Backstrom and Ovi. I saw the hug that they gave each other when they won the cup. Like, well, we finally did it. It's awesome, and I love that. And I obviously clearly haven't been paying a whole heck of a lot of attention to the East or the Caps in general, but yeah, I didn't even realize that he just wasn't in there. I see Ovi getting goals. I'm like, okay, Backstrom's there and he's feeding him.
Yeah, he's
in the press box.
He's been with Kuznetsov, and I think that's a big part of the reason as to why Kuznetsov, 30 points in 28 games. Like, he's benefited greatly from playing with his fellow countrymen there. But for Backstrom, he's coming off of a hip injury. He has 3 years left after this one at $9.2 million against the cap. So he's 34. Gotta hope that he stays healthy here, but that could be concerning. But obviously, that was signed. This is year 2.
Okay,
of this deal.
Like
Signed January of 2020.
Okay,
that extension.
All right, yeah, felt like that had to be recent.
In fairness, he has a no movement clause this year, a no movement clause next year, and then it turns into a 15-team no trade list in the past or the last 2 years. So theoretically, worst case scenario, you call up Arizona and you'll be fine.
Yeah.
So. The Toronto Maple Leafs beat the Chicago Blackhawks 5-4 on Saturday. John Tavares and William Nylander both getting their 13th of the year. Austin Matthews his 18th. In 6 games since shaving his mustache, he has 8 goals and 12 points in the past 6 games. So, hey, for those who still care about that story, because I don't know why it was ever made a big deal about, Austin Matthews is shaving the mustache. It was weird. Endo, any thoughts on this particular game?
Sloppy win. I'm not really sure what else to say about it. We had it. I'm glad that Mrazek was able to get back in there. Because I know Leaf Nation was calling for his head for the past, like, what? How long's the season been? Like 3 months? Since day one, it's like, he can't stay healthy. Trade him. He's nothing. We have Joe Wall. We can use him instead. I'm like, if you guys have the option to have those 2 goalies, like when Mrazek is healthy, he's great. When he's not, which is more often than not what the case is, then you're kind of stuck. I hope he can stay healthy and help this team out because he played great.
Should note as well for the Hawks, Jonathan Taves scored again. And then Dominic Kubalik scored his 5th of the year, and I view this as one of the big issues for the Hawks. He should be one of their top goal scorers. He has 5 goals, 4 assists so far this season, so it kind of sums up their shortcomings.
Yeah, everyone was calling for him to win the Calder when he was a rookie. I remember that. And saying how he was going to be such a great goal scorer.
Who did win the Calder? That was recent.
Yeah, it was a couple years ago.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of who won the Calder that season.
That was the Dahlin season, wasn't it? When he was
which season was it? What year?
Cale Makar won it instead. I found it. Yeah. He finished 3rd behind Cale Makar and Quinn Hughes. Mm-hmm. So, fair enough. The Pittsburgh Penguins beat the Anaheim Ducks 1-0 on Saturday. Casey DeSmith with the shutout, much to the chagrin of everybody. He seems to be like the most hated Penguin. Past action still haunting him. And the New York Islanders beat the New Jersey Devils 4-2. The Islanders, I believe, in their 8th attempt, finally won on their home ice or something like that. It's something crazy like that. Zach Parise's first of the year. What a signing that's been. JG Pajot's 4th, and again, he has a pretty pricey deal, so it's concerning. The Islanders are 7-11-5, and Sim, we had kind of discussed it last week when you weren't here. The coach is often the first to go. You have to wonder if they maybe hit the panic button, but 7-11-5 isn't an insurmountable hole that they're in.
If they do, someone's going to get a hell of a coach. I hope
Seattle again better fire Hackstall immediately.
I think Seattle would be a great team to get someone like Barry Trotz because they're new. It probably won't be too hard for them to buy into what Barry Trotz will bring to the table, and I think they got the kind of roster that Barry Trotz would like to work with. Especially with the quality and the amount of solid defensemen that they have. I feel like that's one of Barry Trotz's specialties is making a good system to play defense. Well, obviously you see the Islanders, but when he had the Capitals too, he was getting Ovi at least for a brief amount of time to be able to play that defense. So it should not be too hard to get a Seattle roster to buy into that and have them improve. But we'll see. I don't know what Seattle wants to do. I don't really know what they have an organizational direction, but you got Ron Francis in charge. So who knows?
In this game as well, Jesper Bratt, his 8th of the year for the Devils. He's been great. Jack Hughes up to 4 goals as well. Hopefully, again, he can stay healthy. The Flyers won again. They beat the Coyotes 5-3. So Philly's at 10-12-4.
Hi, Shane.
It's not all doom and gloom. Like they can.
Did you guys see that clip of Tyler Konechny sing? There's a highlight of me.
And the Shane Gostisbehere bromance is alive and well. That was great. The Coyotes fall to 5-20-2. Tanking for Shane Wright, making it work. JVR had 2 goals for the Flyers. He's up to 5. Claude Giroux had his 10th, and I actually saw a tweet here. It was a story from Broad Street Hockey, and in terms of their reputation amongst the Flyers fan base, I don't know, but I have certainly seen these sentiments all over the place. The headline was Flyers owe it to Claude Giroux to let him chase a Stanley Cup elsewhere. I can't necessarily disagree with that because for some reason with Philly, just things that don't seem to be working. Like this is a team that I thought could have gone to the Stanley Cup final last year. They didn't make the playoffs, and now again, just something seems to not be working. Giroux is 33. He's a UFA at the end of the year. If they were to move on from him, now would probably be the time, right?
Yeah, this is the time to trade a Claude Giroux. He's still got enough in the tank at 33. He's still technically in his prime, albeit the tail end of it. We will start to see the drop off over the next couple of years, but a lot of teams would be interested in Claude Giroux. What's he making? Like 8 mil? So if you pick that up at the deadline,
he is on 8,275.
Okay. Is that 8,275? You cut out in a second.
Oh, yeah, 8,275.
Okay. So, I could see a lot of teams willing to take a chance. And, we don't even need to take a chance. You just get Claude Giroux as a rental. Like, holy shit. Hell yeah. Are you kidding me? It's
Giroux
a center?
leads the team in points, 23 points in 26 games with 10 goals, 13 assists.
Mm-hmm. That's the prototypical what you want from a centerman. Good hybrid production of goals and assists. The guy can win some face-offs. He's obviously, pretty good leader. Probably good guy in the locker room, or at least neutral, won't wreck things. Get Claude Giroux if you're a contender, 100%.
And for the Arizona Coyotes, Sin, you missed this story as well about whether or not they had paid how much they owed and were they going to get locked out. And Gary Bettman is still defensive as ever in saying that it's going to work with the Coyotes. But Katie Strang, who continues to follow the story, posted this tweet. Reached out to the City of Glendale manager Kevin Phelps for comment on Gary Bettman's comments that Glendale has an agenda in dealing with the Coyotes. Phelps' response, if Mr. Bettman and others want to believe that not filing 17 monthly tax returns was due to human error, then so be it.
That's just the most epic response to Gary Bettman being a piece of shit. And once again, shout out to the likes of Katie Strang for being an actual journalist. Thank you very much. We definitely appreciate your tenacity and your work to not, be a yes man for a very, very broken league.
I mean, yeah, I think the story in hockey, one of the biggest news stories of this year has been the reporting work by Rick Westhead, Katie Strang, and reporters just saying, "Hey, look, we're not going to bullshit. Like, this is the story. We're going to talk about it. Period." It's been great. The Columbus Blue Jackets beat the Seattle Kraken 5-4 in overtime. Max Domi 2 goals, up to 6 on the year. For Seattle, Jared McCann scored his 11th. Leafs legend, Jared McCann. But word was, and this was from CBJ coverage on Twitter, Joonas Korpisalo has been informed by the Finnish government that he will likely have to complete his required military service starting April 11th. Minimum time spent for service is 165 days, which is about 5.5 months. I'm actually kind of surprised that he hadn't already served. I'm well aware again from the, I imagine all of us are, the hockey community and how easy it is, of course, to, have a bunch of Finns in the community. And obviously for Sin and I, we do esports commentary for a good amount of Finns. And literally, like, even the esports side of things is affected by the mandatory military service. We've seen it. So Joonas Korpisalo at 27, this is just before his 28th birthday that he'd have to, go take care of this. I'm kind of surprised. And if the Blue Jackets make the playoffs, it'll be Elvis Merzlikins, unless they, get some sort of an extension. I'm not sure how that works, but yeah, very, very surprised by this news that someone at 27 that's been in the NHL for as long as he hasn't hit that requirement yet.
Yeah, it's kind of nuts. Like when you hear about this kind of stuff, it just sort of, but when you think of it, that's not that much time. Like 5.5, at least at my age now, I'm like, 5.5 months, I could go do that. I wouldn't want to do it for the U.S. military, but I mean, for the Finnish military, 100%, dude. That sounds like a blast. Fucking run around in the snow. I don't know. My ignorance showing a bit, but yeah, it's I've been, it happens a lot. It touches a lot of different areas. Esports, especially. Also, I used to follow StarCraft 2 in its heyday quite a lot, and a lot of South Korea, which is where where it's literally like the national sport of South Korea, StarCraft. They have mandatory military service as well, and some of my favorite players, had to take time off to do it. And I think around the age of 25, 26 is the same. Like, you have to get it done around that time too. Like, that's your last chance. And I remember my favorite esport dude, Polt, took like a year, took after he won a bunch of championships, went and disappeared, did his military service and whatnot. But yeah, I'm kind of crazy that Korpisalo has not done it yet. I'm kind of blown away.
The Boston Bruins beat the Calgary Flames 4-2 on Saturday. Connor Clifton's first of the year, Marchand's 11th, McAvoy's 4th, Curtis Lazar his 2nd, Matthew Tkachuk got his 12th of the year for the Flames. But it's not so much that particular game I want to talk about. The Bruins are 14-8-2. They're doing pretty well. It's obvious that something's got to happen, you would think. So I'm just kind of waiting. Which brings us to the tweet from Hockey Hound. Scouting report. There are 6 NHL teams scouting Evander Kane's first game in the AHL. I think, Sin, you mentioned he has a goal in the AHL already.
Or a point or something like that. Because he was holding up a puck and had the whole team around him. As a joke, I guess.
The 6 teams that were apparently in attendance. The Pittsburgh Penguins. And in talking about the Penguins, let's take a look here at their team. I want to go team by team. Pittsburgh Penguins. Right now, they have about $7 million in cap space. Certainly Evander Kane at half salary would work. And you would talk about pushing like Evan Rodriguez or Danton Heinen down to the third line. Like, it's a fit. Mm-hmm. It's a fit for the Pittsburgh Penguins. Can't deny that. The Detroit Red Wings doesn't seem like as good of a fit.
I don't understand
Like, if
that.
you go to Pittsburgh, there is the culture instilled of Crosby and Malkin and Evander Kane. Granted, you could say, well, in Winnipeg, he didn't sit down and shut the hell up, even when Dustin Byfuglien threw a tracksuit in the shower. But in Pittsburgh, I mean, come on. Like, you try to play superstar when you're playing behind Sidney Crosby, you're done. Like, it's just not going to happen. But for Detroit, such a young team, it's kind of like the same. It's like the same thing as the Sharks, except they don't even have your Logan Coutures or your Burns or your Carlsons to try to keep that in check, and they couldn't.
I feel like coincidentally, the Wings were just there for something else. I'm sure Yzerman has his eyes on someone else, like, so, and just trying to
probably right.
fucking fleece us for something, for some goddamn gem that we have in the system. Don't do it, Dougie. But yeah, so that one I don't understand. I don't. I feel like that might have just been coincidence, because I really don't understand why they would pursue an Evander Kane. It just makes zero sense.
I mean, again, unless Yzerman has that attitude of I can fix him, but
fucking, I'm fine. If Yzerman wants to make his first bad move as a GM, I would be more than grateful.
I mean, I will say, like, the idea of like Evander Kane, Tyler Bertuzzi being on the same team and being a difficult team to play against, and having them insulate the skill on the team. In theory, it works, but I mean, hey, maybe it does make sense. They have Tyler Bertuzzi on the team. Hey, he was quoted today as saying, like, I had a COVID diagnosis. I'm still not going to get the vaccine. You live your life, Tyler. You do what you're going to do. So who knows? Maybe it's not a totally out of nowhere thing. Nashville is on this list.
Yeah, well, he could be. He could be a Predator.
He sure could be.
All right. Anyway.
I mean,
fucking Wario laugh that killed me.
Wario. It's actually, everyone thinks it's a W, but it's actually an upside down M. You know how we know that?
Does he put it the Wumbo?
No, you just look at Waluigi. He has an upside down
Nashville
L.
could work.
Fuck you.
Nashville could work again. Like, it's weird that, like, this would almost be in the conversation of them buying, and I don't know if that's what the Preds necessarily want to do.
I mean,
but there's no denying Evander Kane would help.
They're surprisingly doing good. They're 16-10-1, which is just surprising to me for the Nashville Predators. I always kind of considered them really look on the outside looking in, but not so much.
There is the Dallas Stars.
Lol. Kane for Pavelski, 1-for-1. Let's go.
Right? There's no denying Pavelski, leading scorer on the Dallas Stars, by the way. There's no denying that, again, Dallas, they're a team that could use someone of Evander Kane's talents and skill level. I mean, right now, it might be because of scratches and injuries, and indeed I think it is, but Cap Friendly right now has Michael Raffl listed as their second-line right wing. Yeah, Dallas could use a bit more offensive firepower, and he provides that. I see that as a fit. And then we get to the Toronto Maple Leafs. The Toronto Maple Leafs, who somehow actually have cap space right now. It's kind of crazy, but it's because Marner's on IR, I believe.
Yeah.
I don't know what move they would make. I mean, you'd have to see somebody like a Justin Hall. That $2 million of Justin Hall would have to go back. Maybe even they try to send Peter Mrazek to the Sharks and boost it up with picks and prospects. I don't see how this works. I really don't. I mean, they'd have to shuffle quite a few deck chairs moving forward. Like Alex Kerfoot, I think, would be a dead even match for Cap. Kerfoot has 16 points in 29, 29 games and doesn't, factor in the same risk. It could happen. It'd be a good fit in terms of on ice. Again, the physicality that they have in their lineup, surround that with the skill that they have.
It'd be a horrible move for the Leafs. Just consider the attitude that Kane brings in and put it with the young, ego-inflated superstar mentality that it seems Marner and Matthews have sort of developed with how much the media has hyped them up. And bring Kane into that sort of limelight and put him into the spotlight like that. Oh boy, if you do it, Toronto. If you do it. Just please don't.
And then We talked about Pittsburgh. We talked about Detroit, Nashville, Toronto, and Dallas. The sixth team, the Boston Bruins. And I have said this from the moment we read the breaking news on this podcast about the Jake DeBrusk trade. As much as I want Tomas Hertl, I am telling you, and I am mentally prepared, and you can join me in being mentally prepared, or you can be one of the shocked people when it happens. There will be a trade. Jake DeBrusk going to San Jose, Evander Kane coming to Boston, other pieces probably involved. It's going to happen. That's all I can say. I know it in my heart, in my soul. Evander Kane's going to be a Boston Bruin. It makes the most sense for their lineup and what they're missing. It makes the most sense in terms of their aspirations. They're going to go for it. Like, this is, in terms of his play style, like, super, like, he's essentially Milan Lucic at his prime, at his peak. He's physical as hell, can score goals. That is Evander Kane.
He's going to tell you he'll kill you in a Boston handshake line.
I don't know his threatening policy when it comes to handshake lines. I don't know how many handshake lines Evander Kane's been a part of. But it's going to happen.
If he does it, don't worry.
He's going to be a Bruin.
It's just for a photo shoot.
It's good. I don't know what else to say.
Yeah,
Evander Kane is going to be a Boston Bruin.
And honestly, that makes the most sense. Like, it really does for everything involved. It does make the most sense. And the Caps lineup, I just kind of wonder what else would be involved in that trade. Like, if we're retaining 50% for multiple years, as bad as we want to get him out, like, a team like Boston almost seems like they would want him. And they also, at this point, need to get DeBrusk out. So I feel like Sharks should look for extra compensation in the way of picks. Who knows if they'll actually get it? But again, if you're eating $3.5 million for the next 3 fucking years, you better not get anything. Like, I don't know. This is such a shit situation for the Sharks.
I mean, if I'm a Sharks fan, legit, I am not. You could call it bias. If I hear Evander Kane half salary for Jake DeBrusk straight up, I still take it. Get Evander Kane the hell out of there. Yeah. He is beyond a negative value asset to that team, and Jake DeBrusk, I think, in that top 6 is a pretty damn good fit.
Yeah, I mean,
the Sharks.
You are right in the same light. I mean, we are getting a player who's not on the roster for a player who would be on the roster. So, yeah, it still is sort of a positive mood in that way. But yeah, it just sucks.
I mean, looking at the Sharks' top 6, like, what are they missing right now? A top 6 winger that was supposed to be Evander Kane. Yeah. Their second line on Cap Friendly is listed as Meyer, Hertl, Barabanov. Barabanov has 15 points in 23 games, by the way.
He's not too bad. Like, he's solid. He's just, yeah, he benefited a lot more playing with higher skill, which when he hilariously playing with Evander Kane.
And then their first line is Noah Gregor, Logan Couture, Jonathan Dahlin. You sub out Gregor for Jake DeBrusk. And put Jake DeBrusk into the best spot he'll ever be in his NHL career so far in terms of the line and importance. And I think he'll thrive. Yeah. It's going to happen. I am mentally prepared for it. Also on Saturday, the Carolina Hurricanes beat the Edmonton Oilers 3-1. 2-goal game for Aho. He's up to 15 on the year. Elliot Friedman mentioned at the first intermission of this game that the Oilers have 3 targets in the trade market: a goalie, a third-line center, and a left-handed defender. Mentions Ken Holland wanting to show McDavid and Draisaitl that they're willing to go all in. I would hope so. I would hope you would show the 2 best players in the NHL right now that you intend on helping them win a cup instead of playing. God, there was the practice line today of like Cassian was with like McDavid or some shit like that. Like, just
like,
fuck.
It's not his fault.
I don't know if they're actually going to run it, but so yeah. I mean, right now you talk about their third line center. I guess it shows, like, Derek Ryan, I think, was supposed to be that. He has 1 point in 23 games. And they're currently playing Ryan McLeod there, who's 22, who has 3 points in 18. So it's obvious they need a bit to be, bolstered up in that bottom 6. Left side defenseman, I mean, right now their left-hand side is Nurse, Niemelainen, and Lagesson because of injuries. Philip Broberg has played 8 games. He's a left-handed defenseman. Because they have injuries to Russell, Keith, Cuckoo, and of course Oscar Klefbom is out. So, yeah, Yeah, I could see the left side defenseman. And then goalie-wise, Mike Smith, I think still only played 3 games this year. You have Koskinen at a 907 and Stuart Skinner at a 918.
Is Mike Smith injured or?
Yes.
Okay, good.
So undisclosed lower body injury.
Not that he's injured. Not good at these injuries. Just making sure that he wasn't just getting sat after they signed him to like a 2-year extension at age 39. What? Ugh.
Yeah.
Anyway,
so the other two, I can see the goalie thing. I don't really see how they'd sort that out, but yeah, I would hope that the Oilers would be intent on showing their stars that they want to win. That's a bold strategy after Connor McDavid's already played 6 goddamn years or whatever it's been. Good idea. Ridiculous. The LA Kings beat the Minnesota Wild 2-1. Philip Deneau scoring for the Kings. And Brendan Lemieux's 5th of the year being the game winner. And as he skates back to the bench, he goes, past Minnesota's and gets sprayed with water by the bench from Marcus Foligno, who also coincidentally scored his 12th of the season there. Now, Marcus Foligno had this to say, quote, "It's just him being him. Scores 1 goal, then comes by our bench and thinks he's Sidney Crosby out there. That stuff bothers you. It sucks it's so late in the game. You'd like to see a response, but he's really not out there anymore. So it's just one of those things where it's just you got to forget about that guy. He's an agitator and not a very good one." My response, he won.
Yeah.
Brendan Lemieux won in this instance. Like Marcus Foligno having to explain this stuff and saying he's not a good agitator. Marcus, I think you're a great player. He got under your skin.
Yeah, clearly.
He did. You don't squirt water at him and then have to explain it afterwards and say he's not a good agitator.
Yeah, I mean, he just went from being a piece of shit villain to like good at his job once again, all because Marcus Foligno got tilted.
Basically, yeah.
So,
yep.
Yeah.
It's exactly as I view it. We go from talking about Brendan Lemieux and the biting incident and how the hell do you only get this few games as you did to, now there's more to discuss there, unfortunately, about his role in the game, which is unfortunate. In the final game on Saturday, the San Jose Sharks beat the Dallas Stars 2-1. Hurdle's 14th of the year, Erik Karlsson's 8th. But the talking point out of this has been the Dallas Stars goaltending situation. First and foremost, today it was announced that Anton Khudobin has been placed on waivers. Of course, he was very instrumental in them getting to the Cup final not all that long ago. But we talked about it when Sim wasn't here. Khudobin's played 7 games this year. He has a 3.74 GAA, which, yes, is more of a team stat, but still, he also has the 873 save percentage.
And he got signed to like $3 million or something like that?
Straight threes, so 3.33, and that deal ends after next season. He's got 1 more year after this.
Pretty rough. The Stars have Stars kind of did what the Habs did, just with a slower decline afterwards after making the Cup. Apparently Tampa is just a team killer, and if you make the Cup finals against them, they'd fucking put a Danhausen curse on you. And
oh my god,
I like the reference.
I love Danhausen. I don't even like wrestling, and I loved that man.
There you go. That's the appeal. On top of that, Ben Bishop.
Oh.
We talked about him on the show last week about, oh man, he's coming back, and we're gonna see what's there. His first conditioning stint with the Texas Stars, he allowed 8 goals on 35 shots. And they pulled the plug.
This hurts to talk about, honestly.
Whether it was a mutual decision or one side or the other, Ben Bishop's essentially back on IR, and it's been openly acknowledged by GM Jim Nill that he's done. That Ben Bishop is done.
I feel bad. He was a good goaltender.
Yep.
At his peak, he was so good. I've read off some goalie stat lines today. Let me remind you of some of, literally as recent as his last 2 seasons in Dallas. He played 3 seasons in Dallas, right? 17-18, he had a 916 save percentage. The next year, a 934 with a sub 2.0 GAA in 46 games. And then his last full year in Dallas, he had a .920 save percentage in 44 games, but then got hurt heading into the playoffs and only played 3 games in that playoff run. It was Hedobin that was there to save them.
Yeah.
Ben Bishop at his peak, at his best, top 3 goalie bare minimum. I would say almost at pretty much any point. Like, Ben Bishop sitting there putting up great numbers, while guys like Carey Price and Henrik Lundqvist are doing it.
Yeah.
Like, Ben Bishop, at any point in time, when, again, you look at his best seasons, he was in the conversation for the Vezina at any given time when there was a lot of direct competition there. It absolutely sucks that at just, if I am not mistaken, I want to say 30, I was going to say like 30, he is 35.
Okay.
But it just kind of sucks to see it end like this, where you thought, oh, maybe that conditioning stint, maybe, just maybe, there's still a bit of gas in the tank. And they pull the plug after just one test drive.
I mean, something had to go wrong. It's like, for him to allow those 8 goals too, like something had to be off. And like, yeah, it's just a heartbreaking story because, like you said, you want someone to get back there. You root for these guys, like and with how much work and it sucks, and I feel really bad, but yeah.
I mean, when we did talk about it last week, Sim wasn't here, but we talked about it and how that team he was playing with in Texas was not that great. The bottom of the barrel, and they're going up against a team who's like top of that division. That obviously didn't help. Another thing too is when you go down to the AHL for the first time in almost a decade, and you go at 840 GAA with like 765 save percentage, that ultimately kills your confidence. And then having to go back on LTIR because of your knee injury and essentially have you retired. If I was in that situation, I would just call it quits. That's personally because that just kills any form of confidence or level or any sort of drive to get back to the level that you used to be at. It's gone. It's unfortunately as it is. It's not there anymore.
I really wish we could hear from him in this situation.
Yeah, I don't think he wants to talk about anything about that. He's probably still affected by it.
Yeah, I mean, eventually he'll probably release a statement. That's who I really want to hear from. Like, was it his decision? Is he, whatever? I don't know. What's his future about?
For Dallas, they're okay in terms of goaltending situation. Without Bishop, without Hedobin, Braden Holtby has bounced back in a big time way. He has a .923 in 14 games. And then the guy who's known to be the heir apparent at just 22 years old, 7 games, a .951 for Jake Ottinger. They're going to be okay when it comes to this goalie situation. They're going to be just fine. So if that's the one bright spot there for Dallas. We'll move on to Sunday. A couple more games to talk about here before we wrap things up. The Anaheim Ducks beat the St. Louis Blues 3-2 in overtime. Troy Terry 16th and 17th on the year, including the OT winner with that 17th. And Nathan Walker scored his 4th of the year because Nathan Walker is just, he's ready to make the most of this opportunity, and it's awesome. And Troy Terry would be on that U.S. Olympic team, I would hope, if they actually go. The Preds beat the Rangers 1-0. UC Saros with a shutout because UC Saros is great.
There's been a lot of 1-0 games, I feel like, that we've talked about this season.
I was hoping you'd pick up on that.
Like, it's weird. There's been a lot of 2-1 and 1-0. But then also at the same time, there's been a lot of, the Avalanche scoring 7 goals. It's interesting. It's very interesting.
Phil Tomasino scored his 5th of the year there. Again, someone else who's in the running to try and not have it be a clean sweep of Red Wings for Calder finalists this year. The Avalanche beat the Panthers 3-2. Andre Burakovsky's first career hat trick, up to 12 goals on the year now. Of course, he had 2 goals in the last Avs game that I mentioned, so he's been on fire. There was another controversial hit, in a sense, as Ryan Lomberg put Jacob McDonald flat onto his back. It was rough. I don't remember exactly. I think McDonald was stretchered out, if I'm not mistaken, or at the very least you could tell he was out. And it's just, we had the Trouba hits last week that Sin didn't get to discuss. This Lomberg hit, to me, I got to be honest, the replays I saw, there looked to be even less head contact than what we had seen with the Trouba hits. Regardless, this goes to my point that we made in the Tortorella conversation of people like that act as if there's no major hits. and that this shit isn't happening. But I don't know what's going on recently, but it's very evident. Obviously, again, the speed of the game. I don't know what to make of this hit. You know, I looked at it and I viewed it as a clean hit with a pretty unfortunate results.
Yeah.
Like I said, I just haven't seen the replay if there was a ton of head contact. But again, just a really unfortunate result of this one.
Here's the thing. There doesn't have to be head contact for concussions to happen.
Yeah.
And the fact
whiplash
is,
of it.
yeah, it's the game's getting so fast. Not only that, the equipment is so good that you probably don't really feel much when you run into someone with all your gear on. Back in the day, the good old days that all these guys like to talk about, your pads weren't as good. You felt if you couldn't go full speed into someone flying around the ice and or you just didn't want to because, the game was, it's the speed and the equipment being as good as they are make those hits as dangerous as they are. And they're so, if you look at just the speed of the game, seriously, go watch a full game from even the mid 2000s. And then watch one from the 90s. It's the pacing is so different. I was watching this, bit of a video when the Blues scored 5 unanswered goals against, I think it was Toronto actually, and with Cujo in net, and they came back from a deficit.
Oh my god, yeah.
It was so slow the way they were playing, slow, methodical, and okay, so picture that with some of those bigger hits. It won't be as impactful, but yeah, if the game was played at that speed with those sort of no head contact hits, less concussions. But the fact of the matter is it's so fast with the equipment being what it is. You're basically a fucking flying missile out there. And when you go into someone full speed as they're skating toward you, the kinetic force that knocks that head back and causes the brain to rattle in the skull. It doesn't matter if it's a clean hit. You can still get concussed by it. Yeah, keep your head up. But at the same time, also, maybe we got to reevaluate a little bit of something if we want to actually protect the players. And yeah, whatever, criticize me all you want, call me soft all you want, but I tend to think brain trauma is bad.
It's obviously a massive conversation that can be had, but yeah. And after the game too, after the final horn, it got pretty chippy. The Panthers seemed to feud with everyone in terms of the physicality and the us against the world mentality. We've seen it against the likes of Tampa. They're a pretty physical team. I don't know if it was directly in response to that incident there. In the final 2 games, the Golden Knights beat the Minnesota Wild 6-4. Pacioretty's 10th of the year. Zach Whitecloud with 2 goals. He's up to 5. And Marcus Foligno, in response to the Brendan Lemieux thing, scored his 13th of the year. And that brings us to the main event of this show. The Vancouver Canucks beat the Carolina Hurricanes 2-1 on Sunday night. Bruce Boudreau becomes the first head coach in Canucks history to win his first 4 games with the team. Sin, your thoughts?
That's a hilarious stat in its own, and a kind of funny for the Canucks, considering some of the teams they've had. But yeah, it's Canucks, just be grateful you probably won't make the playoffs this year. Enjoy Bruce Boudreau for what he is, which is a regular season coach. And the second you start to make the playoffs, you're not going to like Bruce Boudreau anymore. So enjoy it. Hopefully he helps turn the team around, get them out of the whatever freaking slump they're in. But just be ready to move on from him in 3 years, 2-3 years, when you're ready to maybe actually be a contender. That's the weird thing about Bruce Boudreau. He is such a good regular season coach. His teams always do good in the regular season, and then he falls flat in the playoffs like clockwork.
I'm intrigued to see what happens with Bruce, because the last show I said I wouldn't be surprised if the Canucks were to fight their way back into a playoff situation. It's to what Sin's saying, that's what they do. Mm-hmm. That's just what they do. And in terms of his coaching numbers here, I'm trying to see if I can get the records. I can't seem to find them, but just the idea of how successful he typically is in the regular season. I mean, again, I think it's summed up very well by the fact that you had the John Cooper stat, and who did John Cooper just pass to make that happen? It is Bruce Boudreau. So we'll see what happens there for the Canucks. But gentlemen, that's going to bring us to the end of this particular show. We had a lot to catch up on. Sin, it was good to have you back.
Yeah.
Endo, it was great to have your pizza stories.
Yeah. I need more
This
pizza.
was a fun one. God. Endo, tell the beautiful people where they can find you.
Hi, I'm Endo. I like long walks on the beach, and you can find me on Twitch, Twitter, and YouTube at Endo Mills, and that's where I'll be.
Sin, now that you're back, again, it was great to have you back. We missed you. Tell the people where they can find you.
You can find me on YouTube at SinFTW Productions and on Twitter at SinFTW Prod, P-R-O-D, where I have good takes. And only good
And
takes.
don't stream EASHL anymore.
No, I don't. Yeah, fucking. It has sucked the. Yeah, I don't play NHL aside from recording. So take that for what you will. As a guy who loves hockey.
Yeah, I stopped streaming it entirely. I'll play it with other guys, but I don't know. There's something to playing it when you're streaming versus playing when you're not streaming, and it was just more fun from what I've seen. Just more enjoyable. I guess I've seen I just don't really think about some stuff, and if something happens in the game and it breaks, I say fuck it, whatever. It's a video game.
It's a shame that Sin wasn't here for more of our NHL 22 talk. We'll get into it more as they continue to put out tuners that break things and have to hotfix it. You can find me everywhere at Tougie24. Officially, it was announced as well on my Discord and on Twitter. Keep an eye out this Saturday. Full details coming later this week, but twitch.tv/Tougie24, I will be running a charity stream. The Hunt for Rumble is back for its 4th or 5th year. We'll be raising money for the American Cancer Society this time out. So again, keep an eye out on my Twitter and Instagram as well. YouTube, I'll have all the information out there as much as you can need it. We're going to hopefully raise a lot of money. There's going to be some great prizes involved as well. Some interesting milestones. I have had it proposed to put my eyebrows or all of my hair on the line. We'll see what happens with that one. I've also had it proposed to have Sin put his beard on the line, but I don't think I can get him to agree to that. But I will try. The look on your face right now.
Why am I getting dragged into this stuff?
I don't know, man. People.
No one
it was
mentioned me. No one mentioned me.
Does
And I'm
not have my content. Because he can't grow beard, Linda.
I meant my hair, my beautiful flowy hair, which is tied up right now because I ordered my shampoo and it's 2 days late. Gotta love it.
There we go. So follow me everywhere at Tougie24. We'll see you guys later on this week. We'll see you Thursday. Again, more information will be out by that time. We'll see y'all later. Have a wonderful portion of your week. We can't say the rest of your week because we'll see you before the end. Go eat some pizza and drink some Coors Lights. The Endo diet.
Hey, that's not nice.